Chapter 1. Patterns. Don't lie. I didn't catch my wife cheating. I realized she would. Not because I was paranoid, not because I was insecure, because patterns don't lie. People think infidelity begins with desire. It doesn't. It begins with permission. Permission someone gives themselves quietly, long before anything physical happens. Claire hadn't cheated yet, but she had already begun negotiating with herself. I noticed it on a Tuesday morning. The coffee was still hot when she picked it up. She didn't drink it, just held the mug with both hands, staring at the kitchen window like she was waiting for something to arrive. She used to drink coffee immediately. Small thing, but small things repeat. Big day? I asked. She nodded, too quickly. Yes, she said. Just meetings. She used to complain about meetings. Now she mentioned them as if they were privileges. I watched her put on her coat. She checked her phone once, then again, then placed it face down on the counter. People do that when they don't want to see notifications arrive, or when they want to pretend they aren't waiting for one. I said nothing. Silence is useful. People fill it with truth without realizing it. Claire kissed my cheek before leaving. It was lighter than usual, careful, as if she was afraid of staying too long. The door closed. The house returned to its default state, quiet, obedient, predictable. That's when I wrote the first note. Shift in routine, increased anticipation, emotional distancing. I didn't know who she would cheat with. I didn't need to. Patterns don't lie. That evening, she came home late. Not late enough to be suspicious, late enough to be justified. I lost track of time, she said, setting her bag down. You know how it is. I did know how it was. People don't lose track of time when they're bored. We ate dinner together. She asked me questions. Too many? How my day was, how work was going, whether I was sleeping enough. Guilt often disguises itself as concern. She didn't finish her food. Another note, reduced appetite, heightened self-monitoring. That night, she showered longer than usual, not dramatically longer, just enough to reset something. I lay in bed, listening to the water run, thinking about how often people confuse love with routine and how quickly routine becomes invisible. When she finally joined me, she turned her back. That was the moment I understood, not emotionally, logically. The decision had already been made. She just hadn't acted on it yet. Over the next few weeks, the data accumulated. New clothes appeared in the closet. Not provocative, intentional. Her laughter changed. It became softer, private. She stopped asking about my schedule. That's an important one. People stop monitoring what no longer matters. I updated my notes. I didn't confront her. Confrontation collapses outcomes. I wanted to observe the full structure. I wanted to see who she would become when she thought no one was watching. One night, as she slept beside me, her phone lit up on the nightstand. She didn't move. I didn't look. Not because I was afraid, because confirmation ruins anticipation, and anticipation reveals far more than truth ever does. I turned toward the ceiling and thought about something my father once told me. You don't judge people by what they promise. You judge them by what they allow themselves to become. I knew who Claire was becoming. I simply allowed it. Chapter 2. The variable people rarely enter your life loudly. They arrive quietly, wrapped in coincidence, disguised as routine. The first time Claire mentioned his name, it didn't register as a threat. Mark transferred to our department, she said one evening, sliding her phone into her pocket. He's temporary, helping with the quarterly rollout. She said it casually, too casually. Names don't matter until they do. Sounds useful, I replied. She nodded. He is. That was all. But later that night, I added a line to my notes. New variable introduced. Repetition likely. Mark didn't appear in her stories immediately. He emerged gradually, the way all relevant things do. At first it was someone at work said. Then it became a guy from finance thinks. Eventually, the pronoun disappeared. Mark says the projections are conservative, she mentioned one night, stirring pasta she wouldn't eat. There it was. Names appear only after comfort sets in. I asked nothing. Questions alert people to their own behavior. Claire began leaving earlier in the mornings, not rushing, just adjusting. She dressed more deliberately. Neutral colors, clean lines, nothing overt. Attraction doesn't announce itself, it optimizes. One Thursday, she laughed at something on her phone while brushing her teeth. A genuine laugh. I hadn't heard that sound directed at me in months. She caught me looking at her in the mirror. Oh, just a stupid work joke, she said. Of course it was. Work jokes are the safest lies. They're difficult to verify and socially acceptable to protect. The first real signal came on a Sunday. We were having coffee in the living room. The morning was slow, no plans, no urgency. She checked her phone. Then she smiled, not broadly, internally. People think smiles are visible. The real ones aren't. Everything okay? I asked. She hesitated. Yes, just something Mark said last week. It came to mind. Last week. Not today. Not now. Memory is selective when emotion is attached. I nodded. He sounds memorable. She looked up at me just for a second. Something passed between us. Not guilt. Assessment. That afternoon, she suggested we have dinner with friends the following weekend. This was new. People introduce social noise when they're trying to dilute intimacy. I agreed. That night, she fell asleep quickly. I stayed awake, staring at the ceiling, thinking about probability. Mark wasn't special. Men like him rarely are. Divorced, confident, available. The kind of man who mistakes access for importance. The kind who believes being chosen is the same as being valuable. I had no intention of competing. Competition is for people who are unsure of the outcome. The next time Mark appeared, it was indirectly. Claire came home with a new notebook. Black cover, minimalist. She placed it on the counter carefully, like it mattered. Nice notebook, I said. She smiled. Mark recommended the brand. Of course he did. People like to leave physical traces. It reassures them that they exist outside the moment. I picked it up, flipped through a few blank pages, then put it back exactly where it was. She watched me. Patterns don't lie. That night, I reviewed my notes. The structure was forming. No messages yet. No secrecy aggressive enough to confirm infidelity. But the alignment was there. Emotional displacement. Increased external validation. Reduced marital investment. The window was opening, and I had a choice. Most people intervene at this stage. They accuse, they demand reassurance, they attempt repairs. I chose patience. Patience gives people space to reveal themselves fully. Before sleeping, I wrote one final line. Mark is not the cause. He is the excuse. I turned off the light. Claire shifted beside me, closer than she had in days. That, too, was part of it. People reach for familiarity when they're about to abandon it. I let her. Chapter 3. The Preparation. There is a moment when observation becomes intention. It doesn't announce itself. It feels almost practical. For me, that moment came on a Wednesday afternoon, standing in line at the bank, watching a man argue with a teller about a mistake he should have noticed months ago. Neglect always compounds. That night, I opened a new folder on my laptop. I named it Archive. Names matter. They define how you treat what's inside. The first step was understanding exposure. Joint accounts, retirement funds, property. Marriage is less romantic when you reduce it to line items. I reviewed everything slowly, methodically, as if I were analyzing a client's portfolio, because that's what Claire had become, not an enemy, a risk. I didn't hide anything. Hiding creates urgency. Urgency leads to mistakes. Instead, I reorganized. Automatic transfers, adjusted beneficiaries, updated emergency contacts. Nothing illegal, nothing aggressive, just prepared. A week later, I scheduled a consultation with an attorney, not a divorce attorney, a family law strategist. The difference matters. We met in a neutral office with glass walls and no personal photos. He asked why I was there. I want to understand options, I said. He nodded. Most people come in after something happens. I prefer before. That earned me a look, not admiration, recognition. He explained scenarios, outcomes, timelines. I listened. I asked questions about silence. What happens if I wait? What happens if I document? What happens if I say nothing? He answered carefully. People always do when they sense restraint. At home, Claire noticed nothing. That's the advantage of acting early. She was still inside the illusion of control. She came home with stories about work, about stress, about Mark, now casually, openly, as if transparency absolved intent. Mark's been through a lot, she said one night. Divorce messes people up. It does, but not in the way she meant. Sounds rough, I replied. She watched my face. Nothing changed. People stop confessing when there's no reaction to feed off. I started keeping 2 sets of notes. One was observational. The other was structural. Dates, documents, conversations, not interpretations. Facts. Facts don't argue back. The first lie arrived quietly. I might have to stay late tomorrow, Claire said, folding laundry she hadn't worn. We're behind on the rollout. Okay, I said. She hesitated. Is that all right? There it was. Permission seeking. People ask permission when they want absolution in advance. Of course, I said. Do what you need to do. She smiled. Relief, not gratitude. That night, after she fell asleep, I opened the archive folder again. I added a subfolder. Pre-incident. The name felt accurate. I wasn't angry. Anger clouds, sequencing. This was about timing. I needed her to choose freely, without pressure, without suspicion. Only then would the outcome be complete. On Friday, she dressed differently, still subtle, but intentional. She checked her reflection twice before leaving. People don't do that for meetings. New dress? I asked. She glanced down, almost surprised. Oh, this old thing? I've had it forever. She hadn't. I knew because I tracked purchases. Patterns don't lie. That evening, I cooked dinner for one, not out of spite, out of calibration. I needed to feel the shape of the house without her. The silence wasn't empty. It was instructive. She came home after 10. Her coat smelled unfamiliar, not perfume, environment, restaurants, cars, proximity. She talked more than usual. People do that when they want to outrun their thoughts. I listened. I always listened. Before bed, she asked, "You're quiet tonight. Everything okay?" "Yes," I said. "Just thinking?" She nodded, satisfied. I turned off the light. In the dark, I felt something settle into place. Not sadness, certainty. The next morning, I wrote the final note for the week. The preparation phase is complete. All variables are in motion. I closed the notebook. The waiting was over. Chapter 4. Permission. People believe crossing a line is a single act. It isn't. It's a sequence of small allowances, each one harmless on its own. Permission is never given all at once. It's negotiated. Quietly. Claire stopped mentioning Mark. That was the first sign. People talk about what they're unsure of. They go silent about what they've already accepted. Her phone was always nearby now, not hidden, available. Visibility creates plausible deniability. One evening, she came home with a different energy, lighter, less guarded. She moved through the house like someone visiting, not living. "Long day?" I asked. She smiled. "Productive?" That word again. She went to shower immediately, not to clean, to reset. While she was in the bathroom, her phone buzzed on the counter. Once, then again. I didn't move. The sound was enough. People don't silence phones they don't want to answer. When she came out, she picked it up too quickly. "Sorry," she said. "Just work." I nodded. We were past explanations now. That night, she lay awake longer than usual. I could feel it, the subtle shifts, the controlled breathing. People rehearse decisions in the dark. Finally, she spoke. "Do you ever feel like life pauses?" she asked. "Like you're just maintaining things?" There it was, the moral preface. "I think maintenance is underrated," I said. She laughed softly, disappointed. Not by me, by the answer she didn't get. Over the next week, her routine stabilized. Stability after fluctuation means a decision has settled. She left at the same time, returned predictably late. She stopped asking where I was going. She already knew. One afternoon, I found a receipt in her bag. Coffee, 2 cups, same place, same time. People tell themselves coffee doesn't count. It's not dinner, not drinks, not intimacy. It's just conversation. Conversation is where permission is granted. That night, she was unusually kind. She touched my arm while passing, asked about my day, sat closer on the couch. Compensation. People pay emotional taxes when they know they're taking something. I accepted it. Later, as we prepared for bed, she hesitated in the doorway. "I might go in early tomorrow," she said. "Mark wants to run numbers before the meeting." Mark wants, not work needs. I nodded. "Sounds reasonable." She watched me for a moment, waiting. I gave her nothing. She smiled. Relief again. The next morning, she left quietly. No kiss. That mattered. Kisses complicate narratives. I didn't follow her. I didn't check her phone. I didn't need confirmation. Confirmation is for people who still hope the outcome can change. I opened my notebook and wrote, "Permission granted. The line has not been crossed, but it has been erased." That evening, she came home earlier than expected. Her expression was calm, too calm. She hugged me, longer than necessary. Her heartbeat was fast. People don't hug like that after meetings. At dinner, she talked about nothing important. Weather, a show she wanted to watch. Normalcy is a shield. I played my part. That night, she fell asleep quickly. No hesitation, no restlessness. The mind rests when conflict resolves. I lay awake, staring into the dark. The structure was complete now. All that remained was execution. Before closing my eyes, I thought about something simple. People don't cheat because they're unhappy. They cheat because they've already decided who they are allowed to be. And tonight, Claire had decided. Chapter 5. The first line. Crossed people expect betrayal to feel dramatic. It doesn't. It feels administrative. Claire came home later than usual on Thursday, not unusually late, late enough to justify, early enough to explain. She set her keys down carefully, aligning them with the edge of the counter. Control behavior. "Traffic," she said. I nodded. She went straight to the bedroom and changed clothes, not into something comfortable, into something neutral. People don't want evidence when they're carrying context. We ate dinner quietly. She wasn't distracted. She wasn't present. Her attention was elsewhere, not thinking about something, but remembering it. Memory behaves differently than anticipation. It's softer, more settled. After dinner, she sat beside me on the couch. Close, too close. Her leg touched mine. A calculated normalcy. People try to overwrite moments they feel guilty about. I let her. Later, her phone buzzed. She didn't reach for it. That mattered. People check messages they fear. They ignore messages they've already resolved. 10 minutes passed. Then she stood. "I'm going to take a walk," she said. "Clear my head." It was cold outside. She took her coat. She didn't take her phone. That was new. People don't need devices when the conversation has already happened. I watched from the window as she crossed the street. She didn't look back. That was the line, not the walk, not the silence, the absence of hesitation. She returned 40 minutes later. Her face was flushed, not from cold. Her movements were slower, as if gravity had changed slightly. She smiled at me, unforced. "I feel better," she said. I believed her. That night, she initiated intimacy, not urgently, carefully, like someone fulfilling an obligation rather than expressing desire. This is the moment people misunderstand. Sex doesn't erase betrayal. It confirms it. I accepted. Afterward, she lay still. Too still. People usually turn toward what feels safe. She didn't. Her mind was elsewhere. I didn't ask where she went. I didn't ask who she saw. The answers were irrelevant now. I turned toward the ceiling and counted breaths. The next morning she was cheerful, light, efficient, decision energy. People move faster after crossing a line. She kissed me goodbye. This time it was deliberate, an attempt to seal something. I opened the notebook. No emotion, just sequence. Physical proximity established, private time, intent confirmed. I didn't label it affair. Labels create debate. This was a transition point. At work, I forwarded myself a copy of the consultation summary from the attorney. Preparation moves faster once the line is crossed. That evening, she came home on time. She cooked, she laughed, she suggested a movie. This was her new normal, the double life phase. People believe this is sustainable. It isn't. Before bed, she asked, "You're being very calm lately. Is everything okay with us?" "With us?" I repeated. She nodded. "Yes," I said. "Everything is exactly as it should be." That answer unsettled her. I saw it. When the lights went out, she turned away from me. Not from habit, from choice. The first honest one she'd made in weeks. I wrote the final line of the day. The first line has been crossed. All subsequent ones will be easier. I closed the notebook. The structure was holding. Chapter 6. Documentation. People believe truth is emotional. It isn't. Truth is procedural. I didn't need dramatic proof. I needed sequence. The morning after the line was crossed, Claire left the house with a sense of order that hadn't been there before. She packed her lunch, checked her calendar, left a note on the counter, back late. No explanation. Explanation is unnecessary once permission has been internalized. At work, I opened a new document. No title. Titles suggest intention. This was record-keeping, date, time, behavior, nothing more. The first entry was simple. Thursday. Left at 8:12 a.m. Returned at 9:47 p.m. Mood. Settled. Mood matters. People carry guilt differently than certainty. That evening, she didn't ask about my day. She didn't need to. We were now running parallel narratives. I cooked, she ate, we spoke, all efficiently. I began noticing patterns I'd ignored before. Her phone usage wasn't excessive. It was deliberate. Short bursts, immediate responses, no scrolling. People who are hiding something scroll. People who are coordinating don't. I didn't check her messages. That would introduce interpretation. Instead, I noted timing. People think privacy protects them. It doesn't. Time tells the truth without permission. On Saturday, she left the house twice. Once in the morning, once in the afternoon. She changed clothes both times. Different versions of herself. I documented both. I backed up the document twice, once locally, once remotely. Not because I feared loss, because redundancy prevents doubt. Sunday was quiet, too quiet. She stayed home, cleaned, reorganized a closet that hadn't bothered her in years. Guilt management. People attempt to restore balance when they know they've disrupted it. That night, she suggested we plan a trip. Just the two of us, she said. Future talk is emotional insurance. I agreed. People don't question those who appear invested. Monday morning, she forgot her phone. That had never happened. She stood at the door, realized it, hesitated. I watched. Then she turned back and grabbed it. The moment passed. But it mattered. Midweek, she came home with a faint mark on her wrist. Not a bruise. Pressure. I didn't ask. Questions contaminate data. I added a second layer to the documentation. Financial, receipts, purchases, irregular spending, nothing alarming, but aligned. Alignment matters. One evening she asked, "You've been very observant lately. Are you writing something?" I smiled. "Yes," I said. "Just notes." She laughed, relieved. People are comforted when they believe they understand your behavior. That night, I reviewed everything. No confrontation, no accusation, just structure. The timeline was clean. The story was writing itself. Before sleep, I thought about something simple. People fear being caught. They don't fear being recorded. Recording feels passive, safe. I turned off the light. The documentation phase was complete. Chapter 7. The night she didn't come home. Thursday nights were predictable. Claire left the house at 7:45 p.m., returned by 9:30 p.m., every week, like clockwork. Patterns don't lie. That Thursday, she didn't return. At first, I thought traffic, a meeting running late, a minor disruption. But the clock ticked past 10, 11, midnight. I did not panic. Panic is for people who rely on luck. Instead, I opened the archive folder, updated entries, checked backups, everything in order. I waited. Silence filled the house. Quiet, obedient and instructive. Phones buzzed in the distance. Nothing from her. People leave traces when they feel guilt or urgency. She hadn't. At 12:15 a.m., I poured a glass of water, stared at the ceiling, calculated probability. I reviewed the notes for the week. Time she left, duration, outside, mood upon return. She had never deviated this far. Deviation equals decision. At 1:02 a.m., her car finally rolled into the driveway. She didn't get out immediately. She didn't lock it. She didn't glance at the house. She simply waited. When she entered, I was in the living room, reading, calm. The lights dimmed. "Hey," she said softly. No explanation, no apology, no pretense. She went straight to the bedroom. I followed after a while. She sat on the bed, staring at the wall. "Long night," I said. "Yes," she whispered. "Busy." Busy. The word is elastic. It stretches to cover truth. It bends to hide intent. I said nothing. After a while, she turned toward me. Her face was neutral, controlled, but the subtle tension in her shoulders betrayed fatigue, not physical, but moral. She had crossed another line. The first had been private. This one was intentional. I did not confront her. I did not ask questions. Instead, I noted, Thursday night, no check-ins, delayed return, behavior deliberate, mood measured, risk confirmed. Documentation is more precise than emotion. It's harder to dispute. It holds weight without argument. She fell asleep eventually, quietly, too quietly. People sleep differently when they know they've chosen and cannot go back. I stayed awake. The archive folder opened on my laptop. I entered every detail from memory, every deviation, every subtle hint, every micro-expression. By 3 a.m., the record was complete. I turned off the light, lay down, listened to the rhythm of the house. Normal, obedient, silent. The night had changed nothing externally, but internally the pattern had shifted. She had taken a step I could not undo. I could not step back. I only observed. I only recorded. And that was enough. Chapter 8. Silence as Evidence. People underestimate silence. They think it is absence. It isn't. Silence is a mirror. It reflects choices. It weighs decisions without words. Claire expected confrontation. She expected questions, accusations, anger. I gave her none. I simply observed. The morning after Thursday night, she moved like nothing had changed. Coffee prepared, clothes laid out, her phone buzzing intermittently. I said nothing. I did not ask who she had been with. I did not ask why she had been gone. Silence. That is all she needed. She started talking more, almost automatically. Work was fine. Nothing unusual. Mark helped with the reports. Words are cheap. Repetition is cheap. Patterns are not. I documented everything. Friday morning. Tone, light, pace, hurried. Deviations, noted. Risk, ongoing. By Friday evening, I could see the unease, not in her face, not in her voice, but in the tiny pauses before she spoke, the slight hesitations when she moved. People cannot lie to themselves without leaving fingerprints. We ate dinner. She laughed at a joke she told herself. She touched my arm once, reflexive. She drank water slowly, all normal behaviors, but in context, distorted. Afterward she asked, "Are you upset?" I paused, measured my words. "I am calm." She nodded, but relief flickered in her eyes, the kind that arrives when someone fears judgment, then realizes the observer is absent. I didn't explain. I didn't justify. Silence itself became a statement. I knew. I had always known. She realized that without me saying a word. Later, I reviewed the week's notes. Each entry was precise. Time she left, duration, tone of voice, body language, micro behaviors, every deviation aligned, every choice confirmed. Patterns don't lie. Silence amplifies truth. She went to bed early that night, not ashamed, not defensive, just aware. People carry weight differently when the evidence is intangible, when the accusation is invisible, when the judgment is silent. I wrote a single line in the notebook. No confrontation needed. Silence now holds all authority. I closed the laptop, turned off the light, and listened. The house exhaled. The night answered. The truth had settled, quiet but absolute. Chapter 9. The File. She never knew existed. People rarely understand the weight of documentation. They think it is passive. It isn't. It is invisible authority. It is inevitability. Saturday morning, I opened the archive folder. Inside was a subfolder I had not shown her. Pre-incident, incident, deviation, financials. Every receipt, every timestamp, every behavior logged, measured, categorized. A full narrative of her choices, quiet, factual, undeniable. She walked past the office without noticing me. "Coffee?" I asked. She smiled. "Sure." She was unaware of the weight she carried, unaware of the file, unaware of the fact that every step she had taken was already interpreted. I opened a blank document within the folder. Title, summary, the key lines, behavior, verified intent, inferred deviation, documented outcome. Predictable, I saved. Encrypted, backed up remotely. Redundancy is peace. Claire came home later. Her energy was light, optimistic, unaware. She poured wine, chatted casually, touched my arm once, all signals of normalcy, all lies. I didn't interrupt her. I didn't accuse. She needed no reminders. The record spoke louder than confrontation ever could. That evening, I reviewed the week. Everything aligned. The permissions she had granted herself, the boundaries she had erased, the first line crossed, deviations measured, silent proof amassed. The file was complete. I thought about how people believe influence must be direct. It doesn't. It can be structural, invisible, quiet. The truth does not scream. It whispers through order, timing, and careful attention. Claire left her phone on the counter again. I didn't touch it. The presence of evidence is more powerful than confrontation. She carried guilt, not my voice. I opened the file one last time. Every behavior, every choice, every deviation, every micro moment she would never know. And that was the point. Before bed, I wrote a single line in the notebook. Everything is aligned. She acted freely. I am ready. I closed the folder, turned off the light, listened to the night. Control is silent. Authority is invisible. And outcomes are inevitable. Chapter 10. The Final Move. Divorce doesn't happen with fireworks. It happens quietly, precisely, predictably. Claire signed the papers without argument. No yelling, no tears, no last-minute confessions. She carried herself as if she had already won. I watched. Calm, measured, detached. Everything had been prepared. Financials secured, beneficiaries, updated documentation complete, patterns recorded, deviations measured. The archive folder sat silently on my laptop. Immutable, unseen, final. She looked at me one last time before leaving the office. "Are you okay?" she asked. "Yes," I said. "Everything is exactly as it should be." She nodded. A small flicker of recognition passed through her eyes. She understood something had shifted, but not what. The house was empty, quiet, orderly, predictable. I unpacked a single box in my new apartment, minimalist, functional, calm. Coffee machine clicked at 6:12 a.m. just as planned. For the first time in months, I felt no tension, no need to watch, no need to record, no need to anticipate. The structure I had built functioned perfectly. Weeks later, Claire called. Her voice was polite, even cheerful. "I hope you're doing well," she said. "I am," I replied. No apology, no explanation, no resentment. People cannot argue with order. They cannot debate sequence. They cannot contest patterns. I ended the call, sat in silence, poured coffee. Patterns don't lie. People reveal themselves through choices, and consequences are built long before anyone notices. She had chosen. I had prepared. The outcome was inevitable. I smiled faintly, not out of malice, not out of triumph, out of understanding. Some victories are silent, some lessons are invisible, and some endings are perfect because no one realizes the story has concluded.